So let's talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. So this video is going to be just a review of the game without any spoilers. I'm going to be doing a spoiler video in the future. Now some of you might be wondering, well wait a minute, why would it matter? Because it's just a remake of an old game. We know the story. Not exactly. Without going into spoilers, Final Fantasy VII Remake, what I was dreading with this game was that I was worried that it was just going to be like a remake of the original game with prettier graphics, some modified gameplay, and some extra stuff to pad it out. Because I know it was going to be, multiple parts. I knew all that going in. But what actually happens in the game, this is a brand new story. Not a brand new story. It's the original story with many, many additions, small and big. And it has a huge twist ending that changes everything. So where you think you're going to go in the future of this story is by playing the original PS1 game is totally out the window. So I'm letting you know that now. I'm not going to go into what happens or any of that stuff, but this game is very, very unique. Very unique because I thought that this game would be a replacement for the original and be like a game made for the new generation of gamers nowadays who never got to experience the original PS1 Final Fantasy VII as I did when I was younger. My parents, I asked for this game the day it came out. I bought it day one for my PS1 and I did a whole video on my Final Fantasy VII memories. And this game is actually not just intended for new gamers. This game is intended for the classic, or for the people who are fans of the original, because not only does it have, these same characters, except in my opinion, they're even better in this game. But also the story is not exactly the same. It takes a divergent turn to where if you are a fan of stuff like Crisis Core and Advent Children, if you like this story, the Final Fantasy VII world, you are going to like what they do. Well, you may not like what they do because it's not the same story, but you're not going to be playing the same game. I'm telling you right now, it's not the same game. And because of that, if you're a new gamer and you go through this game, you will probably want to go back and play the original to see what the original kind of story was before it was modified for this game. So, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII original PS1 are two very different games. Like I said, not just in story, but also in gameplay. This game, of course, is more of an action-styled RPG. The original was turn-based with the ATB system. Now, in this game, it's got a hybrid sort of ATB system where it's not just, active time battle where you enter commands and whatnot. You can actually, the action side of it, you can dodge, you can block, you can attack with your character, switch characters and whatnot, but you can't perform stuff like spells, special abilities, limit breaks, summons, and items without the ATB bar going up. And as you go through the game and you level up, obviously it goes up faster. You get materia that can modify it. The materia system is back in this game, and in my opinion, it actually has been brought into the action RPG genre. There is new materia in this game that did not exist with the original game because it could not exist with the original game because the original game was not an action RPG. It didn't have swinging swords and dodging and moving around. A lot more action in this game. Some have compared to Dynasty Warriors, and I can certainly see that. Also, Dragon Quest Heroes is very similar to this as well. It's got that same sort of style, but of course this has a lot more RPG elements and things of that nature. So there's materia in this game that's not in the original. So like, for example, there's one called the Deadly Dodge where you can you dodge and counterattack, right? Things like that wouldn't make sense for the original game because it's not that kind of game. So this is a brand new play experience. Now, aesthetically, this game is absolutely incredible, okay? Aesthetically, the graphics are absolutely breathtaking. The cutscenes make this whole Final Fantasy world seem even bigger than it was in the PS1. The voice acting, I was really impressed. How many games have you played in the past, where the voice acting is just subpar? In this game, it's totally incredible, with some very familiar voices, and the music, to me, Nobuo Uematsu's Final Fantasy VII score from the PS1 version is classic. I mean, Final Fantasy VI and 7 arguably have the best soundtracks of the entire Final Fantasy franchise. And I like all the musics. They've always been good. Uematsu's great. But in this game, it's like the old songs are remixed, but they're not overplayed. So when you're playing the game and you hear these familiar songs, the Aerith theme, the battle theme, the boss fight theme that we heard in the old games, brought to life now with new instruments. It's all been remixed. So it sounds familiar yet new. Like I said, this game is made for people not just to experience the story of Final Fantasy VII who never got to, but for people who already played the original. This game has so many Easter eggs, so many nods, so many wink winks. The story is, like I said, different, but not that different. This goes in a different direction, but there are similarities and it expounds upon stuff. Like, for example, Cloud's PTSD is a bigger deal in this game. And I do want to say that the banter between the characters, Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, and Aerith, and even Sephiroth, is great. I mean, they've added layers to the characters and made them even more vibrant than they were in the original game. Also, on top of that, the Cloud. Okay, I never was a big fan of Cloud in Final Fantasy VII. I didn't think he was that cool. This version of Cloud is a hell of a lot better. He's way cooler. He does some incredible stuff. He's much, much more likable. And Aerith is absolutely just, what a lovable character she is. Like, she is even more lovable in this game than the original Final Fantasy VII. And if the timeline goes the same as it did in the original, it's going to be a tragic moment, in the future games whenever, the famous moment where she gets killed in the original Final Fantasy VII. I don't know if they're going to do that here. We're going to talk about that in the spoiler video more because things are going in a different direction. But what I love about this game is that it rewards you for being a longtime Final Fantasy fan. And there's actually songs that are from other Final Fantasies. Not too many of them, but they're in there. And so because of the 3D world, you get to see a little bit more of Midgar. It's not that much more, but you get to go to Sector 5, Sector 6, Sector 7, the Wall Market, and all the old classic scenes like Cloud cross-dressing and, the Don Corneo and all that stuff is now like very vibrant. There's new stuff added. The world just seems a lot bigger. Midgar is huge. Now, obviously, you don't explore all of Midgar, but, you do get to see it in this big sort of 3D landscape. The slums and, the technology, the Shinra building, all that stuff is here. And the boss fights in this game, they bring back the old bosses. They make them even more epic. It's just great. It's just great. It's a very easy to learn combat system. And also in this game, there's some other stuff that the original didn't have. For example, you can upgrade your weapons. You don't have to, just keep changing weapons, as you grow through the game and get stronger and stronger weapons. You can actually upgrade your current weapons, and you get to unlock abilities by doing that you can eventually learn. And then your characters have all these different techniques they can use in battle. Some for healing, some for assist, and some for actual damage. Tifa is so much fun to play with the just incredible combos. Barrett is great for long range with his hand cannon. Just so much fun. You have to use them all because there's going to be characters that you can't even hit because they're far away. And you got to use Barrett for that. Aerith, of course, the magic user, extremely powerful. And the game does have tons of extra content for when you beat it. When you beat the game, you unlock like a new game plus mode where you can actually go through the game again, but you get to pick your chapters. So this game is organized into 18 different chapters, and that's the story of Final Fantasy VII, at least the first part, which is this game, just the Midgar stuff. And you can actually go back and replay it with different difficulties like hard mode and find things that you missed the first time, which is really, really cool. Like, I love games that let you do that. It's very rare. New Game Plus is such an awesome feature, and also you get to keep all your materia and your levels, and you also level up faster in New Game Plus. So there's all these benefits they give you to play the game over again, and you can skip the cutscenes. So you're gonna zip through the game much faster when you beat the game the second go around. You're gonna zip through it so fast if you choose to play it again. But remember, you can play it out of order as well. Okay, you can play it, the story in different parts. But overall, there's just so much to talk about here. I don't want to get into it until we go into the spoiler section because, which will be a different video, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about here. And I don't want to ruin the game for people, but trust me, if you have played the original Final Fantasy VII, this game is not the same as that. You are going to get the story. Again, it only takes the Midgar section, which is not, if you remember, Final Fantasy VII was three discs. Midgar is only the first part of the first disc. The first disc of Final Fantasy VII back on PS1 ended in the crater. You know, you go to all like 3 continents in that game. In this game, you're only in Midgar, but it's different. It's like it's more like a retelling, sort of like a reboot. It really comes off like a reboot to the story, but it's different. And the original Final Fantasy VII is still canon, which, like I said, I'm going to talk about more in the spoiler because it's just crazy how things are kind of different here. But it all makes sense. The way that I'm perceiving it, it seems to all make sense. Now, that being said, the gameplay, like I said, different but fun. I had a blast playing this game. Some of the mini games are really annoying. Some of them are annoying, some of them are extremely fun. The motorcycle stuff, where you're on the motorcycle with Cloud, I had a blast playing that, yo. It's so much fun. There's an arena where you can compete against opponents and like earn, SP points, which lets you unlock abilities and upgrades to your weapons. Like you can add like stats and things like that, stat boost, materia slots. It really rewards you for grinding, but the grind is not even hard, man. It really isn't. It took me a clean like 36 hours or so to beat the game, even with side quests. And the good thing is, this game is not totally overbloated with side quests. Some games have way too many side quests. You know what I mean? Just there's too much. Breath of the Wild, I had a problem with that game because there's just too many side quests, and you kind of get lost and confused. This game keeps them like within their own chapter, so you can get them done. And if you don't get them done, when you beat the game, you can always go back and do them. So you know what I mean? There's benefits to playing the game over again. The summons in this game, they actually stay in the fight with you, which is something that Final Fantasy games have been doing in recent times. Not so much like, the way it was in 7. The summons in this game will fight with you alongside you against whoever your opponent is. And what an incredible finale this game was. So, again, Final Fantasy VII Remake, this is the best Final Fantasy that has come out in years. My favorite one since Final Fantasy IX, not including Crystal Chronicles, because I love Crystal Chronicles, but I was really not a huge fan of 13. I actually hated 13. 12 was to me kind of mid, and 10 is not bad, but it is overrated. I actually like 10, but I don't love it. And I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's worth the money, especially if you're a fan of this franchise. And if you're new, play this game or play the original first. But trust me, you're going to want to play both. You are going to want to play the original and this one. Even if you don't like turn-based RPGs, you got to at least try the original, because that way you get the whole story. This one's only one small part of it. So who knows where they're going to go from here. I'll discuss more of that in the spoiler section, because there's multiple parts to this. But thumbs up game. I had a blast playing it, and you will too.